Hey, it's Michelle here. Quick question before we jump into today's episode. Do you clean when you're stressed? Do you hate being late? Are you the overachiever who's always busy and always responsible and always on top of it? Would you describe yourself as a rule follower? And when other people don't follow the rules, it genuinely bothers you. Maybe you have really high standards, both for yourself and for everyone around you. You probably tend to be a perfectionist, and slowing down or being spontaneous or just going with the flow, letting things be less than perfect, maybe that doesn't come so easily to you. And maybe you've always thought hey, that's just how I am, right? I'm just type A. I'm just a go-getter. But here's what's actually going on. When you were a child and something overwhelmed your nervous system, your body adapted and your nervous system built a defense against that overwhelm. And over time, that defense became a habit, and then that habit became a pattern. And now what we think of as our personality is so often just that old pattern running the show. So there are 5 different capacity patterns, and they're not really personality types like the Enneagram or the Myers-Briggs, but instead they describe the specific safety strategy that your nervous system defaults to when you're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, or maxed out, when you're at capacity. So they don't describe who you are in as much as they describe what's actually blocking who you are. And once you know your pattern, you can actually do something about it. If you haven't yet, I would invite you to go take my free What's Your Capacity Pattern quiz. When you get your quiz results, you'll be invited to listen to a free private podcast all about your capacity pattern. The quiz takes just a couple minutes. The link is in the show notes, or you can head on over to michellegrosser.com/quiz. Welcome to the Calm Mom Podcast, the show for ambitious women ready to get off the hot mess express. I know you've got a lot going on. You work so hard, you're raising an incredible family, and sometimes it can be overwhelming. I'm your host, Michelle Grosser. I'm a certified master life coach, attorney, wife, and mom. And years ago, I was right where you are. I was running a busy law practice while raising a family, and I was on the fast track to burnout. I thought I just needed to be more organized or have better routines, but it was learning how to heal and regulate my nervous system that expanded my capacity to gracefully hold more of this big, beautiful life. You too are worthy of an extraordinary life in and beyond motherhood. Learning to be a calm, anchoring presence in your home and at work is going to be your superpower. If you're here to do the inner work that brings a sense of calm amidst the chaos, I'm here to join you on that journey. Each time you press play, your growth continues. So let's get at it. What's up, mamas? Welcome to the Calm Mom Podcast. I'm Michelle Grosser, your master coach, your host. Thank you for being here with us today. Today, we're going to talk about our purpose. Do you ever wonder what your purpose is? I think sometimes life takes us on these different paths, at least different than what we might have expected or envisioned for ourselves. And I think we all have seasons or maybe moments at least where we're like, what am I doing here? What is my purpose? And I think sometimes we feel like we find our purpose in motherhood. And while motherhood is incredible and so important and such an opportunity, it's kind of precarious, I think, to find our purpose in motherhood because our kids are growing and they're becoming more independent, especially if we're doing our jobs well, which I'm believing that we all are. There's going to come a time in 18-ish years or less that our kids are going to be out of the house and they're going to be doing their own thing and running their own race. And we as women are still going to need a reason to exist and a place in which we feel purposed and fulfilled. So we can't have everything we are, our entire identity, our entire purpose wrapped up in the season of motherhood. And maybe you're not feeling that way, and maybe you are in the throes of motherhood like the rest of us, but you're kind of feeling like, is this it? And I get that. I get that deeply. And I know that that feeling can kind of bring on its own kind of guilt because our kids are all amazing. But sometimes there's still a little part of us that feels like our soul is just like withering away. Like this is not what we're wanting or imagined that we would be doing. Like it's not how we imagined our day-to-day life to look like. And what I want to talk to you guys about today is that what you do, be it in motherhood, in business, otherwise, but the things that we do are not our purpose, right? They're not our purpose. Our purpose is actually who we are. So when our identity and our fulfillment is only tied up in the things that we're doing, then that means that our identity and our sense of fulfillment is fleeting and it's fickle. Like you get fired from your job and it's like, bam, there goes your purpose. Or like we were talking about earlier, right? Your kids move out of the house, bam, there goes your purpose. So don't confuse what it is that you do, either for money or otherwise, as your purpose. As your purpose. Because if you're finding your purpose by just pursuing things that bring you either money or pleasure, the truth is that you're always going to be chasing. You're always going to be going, you're always going to be doing. And we know that that kind of striving is exhausting, right? It wears you right out. So what do we do? How do we find our true purpose, our true calling? Well, the truth is that we can only understand ourselves and our purpose through the eyes of our Creator. So we need to see ourselves from this outside perspective. We have to try to learn, try to understand God's greater design for humanity. And then we try to understand how we fit into that greater design, right? So our purpose is within that framework. It's figuring out what God is up to around us and then participating in it, right? Getting on board with what we're seeing happening around us. So maybe you're noticing that God's moving in your business. Like, how can you be a part of that? Maybe he's moving in your workplace, right? How can you be a part of what he's doing there? And it's kind of like seasons, or it's kind of like, being on assignment, like figuring out where God is moving and then participating in it. That is your purpose. So is God moving in your family in some way? Get on board with that. Is God moving in your community in some way, your neighborhood? Get on board with that. Like, how has God gifted you uniquely to contribute to his larger workings, his larger plan, his larger purpose for all of humanity, right? Because the truth is that it's not really about us. It's not really about you. It's not really about me. And I know it can be hard to hear that sometimes, but the answer isn't just like, it's not just like take all these personality quizzes or get the promotion or get this, change this job or move to a different neighborhood or have more kids or have a husband or whatever, and then you're going to find your purpose. All of those things might be a part of our story. But if we, each of us individually, if we are not part of something bigger than ourselves, right? If the focus of our purpose isn't broader than our own interests, then what makes us quote unquote happy, we're always going to feel like there's something missing. We're always going to feel like there's something missing. So yes, you have talents. Yes, you have giftings. Yes, there are things that light you up and make you feel so alive. But unless you're doing these things in a way that aligns with a larger vision, a larger mission, you're not going to find that deeper sense of purpose. So this is the difference between being a teacher and not feeling like you're walking in your purpose, or being a mom and still feeling unfulfilled, or being a lawyer like I've been doing the last decade and still feeling like there's no way that fighting with opposing counsel over a deposition date is my purpose. And that's because in those scenarios, we're making it about us. But as soon as we shift our perspective and we shift our mindset, and it becomes about like, what is God doing in my classroom? And how can I be a part of it? Or how is God moving in my family? And how can I participate in that move? Like for me, I had to stop seeing my job and my profession as being a lawyer. And I really had to start looking at the broader picture. Like, what client am I called to encourage today? Right? What client am I called to speak life into today? What opposing counsel am I called to respond differently than everyone else, right? And bring a little light into this profession that's just teeming with miserable, overworked, burnt out people. Like, what's going on with my team, right? That I have an opportunity to pour into. So your purpose is not, and it never will be, about tasks. It's not about the tasks. We're going to find our purpose when we open the eyes of our heart and we start looking for where God's on the move. And then we start noticing and participating in that. So we got to pay attention, got to look for opportunities. We've got to see things differently than most people do. And when you start doing that, friend, and then you have a little boldness to participate in the greater mission that you've caught sight of, you are going to find a new level of purpose and a new level of deeper identity, your true calling, than ever before. I would love to hear all about it. Send me a DM on Instagram at michellegrosser.coach or shoot me an email. All my information is in the show notes. But I would love to hear from you guys about what you're noticing. Now that you have this different perspective, what are you noticing that's going on around you? And how are you being called to participate in it? Because that is your purpose. I love you guys so much. I'm rooting for you. I'm cheering for you. I'm believing with you and in you. And I'll talk to you soon.
If you love Mommy's Podcast, leave a review.
If you enjoyed this episode, it would be so awesome if you could take a moment to subscribe and rate the podcast. And if you have just a few more seconds to leave a quick review, they really help to get this podcast out to other moms like you. I read every last review, and trust me, when it's late at night or early in the morning before my kids get up and I'm working on bringing you all of this content, your reviews are what keep me going. Leaving a review is truly the best way you can thank me. And of course, DM me on Instagram. I love to hear from you. Thanks for listening to another episode. Head over to the show notes for this episode and all past episodes at michellegrosser.com, where you'll find free resources and more ways to connect with me. If you love the show, share it with a friend. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you next time.